Hi folks, it's Glenn. I'm sitting in my very chilly Mark 1 Capri, which has been holed up in my garage at home for the last probably 3 weeks. Took it out a few weeks ago and went to a little bit of a cruise just up at Yorkshire, and the brake pedal was really hard, and it's obvious that the brake boosters died on me, which has happened quite a bit on other cars I've had. I don't know, it might be a heavy breaker, I don't know, but this one's lasted 18 years, so I can't really complain. So I've taken the steps of getting it reconditioned. So it's off to off up a place in Cheshire, I think it is. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but I'll put it in the comments. And they say it's going to be around 3 to 4 weeks. So basically, the car's off the road for 3-4 weeks. So I thought I'd just rip out my suspension. Well, as you can see, I've already started ripping out the suspension. It's because the car's been sitting for probably sort of 9 months on and off for the last few years. I think the inserts have seized up and they're just a bit hard and a bit ropey basically. So yeah, they've been in there 18 years, so I think they're about due anyway. So I for my other car, I've got a Mark III back in Australia, so I'd actually had a set to fully reconditioned front struts to that. So the plan was to actually import my Mark III, but that's not going to happen now for various reasons. So I've shipped those over in my panel van, and I've decided to throw them in this Capri, which is a Mark 1. So there's a few little modifications I have to make. I've got vented discs, so I have to space the calipers, and long story short, there was a bit of a mix-up when I reconditioned the calipers, so I'm going to have to use the calipers that are currently on the car, which are in good condition, so it's not such an issue. It's just me spacing them for the vented discs. Now, with the existing suspension, it's pretty much a straight swap from the later model. So the only thing you really have to take into account is things like metric threads and that sort of thing. But these brakes were rebuilt in 2002, and they couldn't get the original parts for the original Imperial brake calipers, so they were upgraded to M16s off an Escort. So I've only just found that out. I just went to buy some brake pipes and they didn't fit, so I'm thinking, oh, that's no good, I'm gonna have to use the ones that I already have. So consequently, I'm doing a bit of a rebuild on the calipers as well. So you'll see that at some point in one of the videos that I make over the next few weeks while we're locked up in isolation. But that's nothing unusual for me, because I work from home and I've been in isolation for probably 25 years. But having said that, yeah, it's just good fun to have a legitimate reason for working on my cars instead of working in front of a computer. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how people react not having contact with other human beings. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see that. But anyway, we'll continue. Okay, what you're looking at is what's left of the sway bar, anti-roll bar, that was on my car when it was imported into the country. The very kind people at the shipping company. They used it to tow the vehicle, so it's got this nice little camber in it now. So totally useless. So what I've done is I've increased the size and got a 2.8i sway bar, or anti-roll bar as you call it in this country, and I've swapped everything, track control arms, all the bushes, and I've got a anti-dive kit coming from somewhere that will be fitted next week, hopefully, if it turns up, and hopefully it should handle a little bit better than it did when the car arrived. As you can see, I've already got the original struts out, which are over here. These are the ones that have been in the car for 18 years, and these are the ones I'm putting in, which are pretty much identical, except they're from a Mark III, and I'm upgrading to the vented discs, which have been in storage for about 2 years, so I'll need a bit of a sand, but other than that, it's all pretty much straightforward swap. If you look at the underneath here, I'm lucky enough to have a very solid car. Actually, there's no rust, never has been any rust in it. It's all original, no repairs. It's had a whack at some point. There's a little bit of a ding. You can't really see it from here, but it's obvious. But doesn't really affect the driving of the car. What does affect it is the state of the original track control arms. They were shocking. All the bushes were worn and stuff. I think I've got one here. Yeah, so that's what I've taken out. Not the best, so I've replaced them with brand new ones. I've not replaced the bush on the inner part. Someone told me years ago that it actually helps if you've got a rubber bush there. I don't know what the reason, but we'll find out, I guess. Maybe it's bullshit, but I couldn't get it out at the time, so I didn't have the tools and just couldn't be stuffed, so I just whacked it in there. It's brand new rubber one. So my rack was reconditioned a couple of years ago. Basically I haven't done many miles on it, probably a couple of thousand miles on it. So that's not coming out. That'll just be cleaned up a little bit of surface rust on it. Like I say, brand new hoses. I've got new calipers, or the calipers I'm going to use the original calipers that were on the car. They were in good condition. I'm just going to space them, which I've already done, but I'll show you that later. Basically all I need to do now is basically assemble everything. Just waiting on a few little parts. The other thing I'm missing is the thing what I've just mentioned, is the servo, but that'll be a few weeks off. Already got one of the struts, so brand new springs, brand new inserts, cleaned up all the strut. Basically it's been sitting for years, so it's got all this sort of rust stuff. I've sort of scraped it off, but I'm probably not going to do much more to it. You're never going to see it. It's in good nick compared to what you see over here. Things tend to rust twice as bad as they do in Australia, so this is probably in good condition compared to what it's about. Everything else seems to be all good, so I'm just going to leave it all in there, just clean up a little bit, and basically we'll bolt it all back together. Okay, here's where the missing booster should go, or servo as you call it in this country. You can see I put this car together in a bit of a hurry because there's actually no bolts securing the pedal box at this end. So that's one little thing that I need to do, just get some bolts for that. When the pedal box came out originally, it was an automatic, so we had to swap it for a manual one. And I had the wrong pedal on there as well. It was off a Cortina, I think. So luckily my mechanic picked that up, and we ended up getting that while I was over here. This is back in Australia. I can see the booster, the master cylinder has actually always been in good condition. Like, it was reconditioned many years ago. The only thing is it would have been nice to have a coat of paint on it, which I might do. I'm going to retain these lines, but I've replaced everything else. All the at the other end, so all the bleed nipple and the brake lines that go from the pipe to the caliper, they're going to be replaced. So just through sheer laziness, I'm not going to replace these lines. There'd be just too much work to pull them all out, and I want to keep the car running and drivable. I don't want to be off the road for months and months, even though we might be forced to. But other than that, the engine's been running fine. It's just a little bit grubby at the moment, as you hear my neighbour thrashing his motorbike in the background. Yeah, it's a little bit grubby. I need to change a few gaskets, but apart from that, it all runs fine, so that's the way it's going to stay. Okay, here we've got the calipers that were to go on the car. I've pulled them apart and removed the spacers that were fitted. My mechanic back in Australia did all of this and did a great job. Unfortunately, they are Imperial, so they're the Type 16, so they're not going to be any good for my car. Just stupid not just picked up a bunch of calipers I had and just gave him the wrong ones, unfortunately. I'm sure that the threads would be the same, but unfortunately they're not. So when I've gone to fit the new lines, they don't fit. So consequently, I've started rebuilding the original calipers that were on the car, which were in perfect working order. It's just that, like, going to take the opportunity just to replace the lines. The hose is going to be replaced, and I'm going to give them a bit of a coat of paint, because I've got a shitload of this Olympic blue, which I was going to use on my van, but long story short, the van's gone. It's been sold. So I've got about 4 cans of this, so I might as well use it up. It's probably going to get burnt off, or covered in brake dust, but it's just looks nice for about a week, and then we get back to normal operation. Yeah, but unfortunately I've got some brand new calipers all fully rebuilt, and can't use them, so these will probably end up on eBay. Hopefully we'll have some nice new calipers bolted onto the car in the next few days, and then it will be just a waiting for the servo, and we'll be all right to go.